Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Fallout 4 Mods Weekly. And this week has been absolutely amazing for the modding scene. We have some really cool things to look at this time around, including a couple new quests, a brand new dungeon, some new enemies, and some new weapon mods. So stay tuned for that. If you want to try any of the mods featured in this video, as always, they will all be linked down in the description below, along with any Xbox links if there are any available. Let's go ahead and jump right in with the first mod this week, which is a very important one, and that is the mod known as Trunk's Malfunction by Kinggath, Elianora, Neeher, Neero, Unoctium, and many others. This mod was part of a huge charity project where this wonderful team of authors decided to get together and make one complete mod in one day as part of a charity stream. This mod is going to be a nice new little quest featuring a brand new weapon, armor, voice characters, a new player home, and a lot of cool content. And again, all of this was done in the name of charity. I'll talk more about that in just a second. First of all, let's talk about the mod. This mod all starts when you head over to Diamond City at night. Head over to Mocrone Install and you'll see a brand new robot who has decided to take on a night shift for the store. This is what's going to get the whole thing started. You'll have a nice little fetch quest, and then when you return, the robot is going to sort of malfunction, and that's kind of what leads you into the rest of the shenanigans in this mod. First thing right off the bat, I do want to say the robot has absolutely fantastic voice acting. I really like the character. The voice acting is nice, crisp, and clean, and altogether he's a really fun and kooky character who really feels like a part of the Fallout universe.
Oh hey, what's up? Do you want to buy a bat? You've met the old man. Yeah, you know, I've tried to explain him the rules like 15 times, and he still goes around acting like every player murdered each other. I mean, think about it. Do you know how long a season would be? I mean, this is like a baseball stadium. There are books everywhere about it.
What's your name?
My name, bro? Everyone here calls me Trunk.
Now, immediately after the fetch quest, you're going to have to follow this robot and track him down as he's wandered off somewhere in the glowing sea. And I don't want to spoil too much of what happens after that, because there's some really cool stuff, and since this is a quest mod, I'd highly recommend you check that part out for yourself. But let's talk about some of the goodies you get by completing this quest, as those are some of the key components of this mod, and it shows off some of the wonderful, talented authors that helped contribute to this project, including a brand new armor set by Niero. This new armor set is going to be found on one of the characters in this quest line. It offers a brand new cool looking jacket with some awesome custom models and textures. On top of that, there is a brand new weapon mod, rightfully named the Charity. This is going to be a brand new energy weapon, sort of a break action laser shotgun. It does come complete with custom animations and custom sounds, and of course custom models, and this weapon was created by Neeher. Now, as you complete the quest and find these items, you're going to also find a brand new player home at the very end. This player home reminds me a lot of classic player homes from Fallout New Vegas and Skyrim. There's not a lot you can do in terms of customization or a working settlement, but it is a perfectly functional player home with tons of containers for storage and a perfect basement for crafting. It has pretty much every workbench you could possibly need to craft things, even a robot workbench cramped in there, and it all fits very nicely in a very small space. And this player home was of course made by Elianora. All of these titans of the modding scene have come together for one mod project, all contributing their areas of expertise so that they could get a big project done in just one day. And I have to say, it's pretty incredible work for such a small time limit. Overall, you're going to get about 30 minutes or so of gameplay, but if you really dive deep into the dialogue options, there's actually a ton of voice lines and a lot of really fun stuff to be had. Now, let's talk quick about the charity. This mod was once again done for charity. All of the proceeds will be donated to the Longest Day Alzheimer's Association. Now, you can directly donate using a link found on the mod page, and I will also use that same link down in the description below to take you to Kinggath's fundraiser. The team is still well on their way to trying to reach their fundraiser goal, so there's plenty of time for you to go ahead and contribute and try to help them reach it. Again, you can do so using the first link down in the description. Now then, moving on to the next mod this week, we have another pretty massive gameplay mod, and that is Mechanist Omega, the first of the antagonist quest mods by RascalArt. Now, you may know RascalArt from contributing a ton of new enemies into Fallout 4's modding scene, adding to Fallout 4's lore, and just giving us fun new enemies to fight in combat. Well, now, RascalArt has branched out and is trying something new with a brand new dungeon to hold a ton of new enemies, custom weapons, and a quest, and a boss fight at the very end. In this particular instance, we are going to have a Mechanist-themed dungeon, though the antagonist quest mods appear to be a series of mods that RascalArt will be doing. A bunch of different dungeons with different themes and new boss fights for you to have, which is really, really cool. This late in Fallout 4's lifecycle, having new things to fight and new areas to fight them in is definitely a very, very welcome type of mod. Now, with Mechanist Omega, you're going to get, of course, a brand new dungeon and boss fight, but also some brand new enemies. These enemies will include some brand new Mechanist-inspired robots featuring their own unique rifles and pistols, as well as one of my favorite new NPCs to ever be added in any mod, which is the Turret Bot, a walking version of the Fallout 4 turret, which looks absolutely fantastic. And there's even a Mech Praetorian, which is a brand new boss that you will encounter in the dungeon as well. On top of that, there actually is another boss in this dungeon, which will have their own custom set of power armor that you can equip once you've completed the dungeon. This power armor is extremely customizable over at a workbench and includes tons of unique stuff I've never seen on power armors before, including different shields and integrated weapon systems and even gigantic claws akin to sort of a Wolverine aesthetic. And on top of power armor, the boss also has his own set of regular armor and a brand new weapon that you can find in the last room of the dungeon. Now, to get this thing started, it's not actually a marked quest, but rather a dungeon that you just have to find on your own. If you head over to the location known as the Robotics Disposal Ground, you'll actually find an entrance to a bunker hidden behind the main building. From there, the dungeon is pretty linear. It's going to involve opening a lot of terminals and finding keys to open doors. You'll have a lot of combat. There isn't a particular level that's recommended for entering this area, but I will say I have a high-level character, and some of the enemies were giving me a pretty hard time, especially the snipers, which are very far away from any of the main combat areas and will hit you for a lot of damage. They reminded me a lot of Jackal snipers from Halo 2. It was pretty rough. Most of these guys do drop pretty quick. They don't have insane amounts of health or anything, but they do have weapons that pack a bit of damage, so you may find yourself dying from surprise enemies hidden behind corners and doors. One thing I really enjoy as you trek your way through the dungeon is the visual storytelling. Again, there is not a marked quest, but you can pick up what exactly is going on just by looking at the environment around you and encountering the different enemies in the order that they are presented. It's really, really cool, and I have to say, RascalArt has a real knack for this. And then eventually you will make your way to the very end of the dungeon where you'll be greeted with two bosses in a huge arena, and it's just an awesome sight to behold. Opening the final door, you know you're ready for a boss fight. It's a lot like classic video games, and I really like the aesthetic of this entire area. It's a lot of fun, and it has me very excited to see what else RascalArt is going to do in the future. Speaking of which, RascalArt is already starting to post some work-in-progress images of their next mod. They're already hard at work, so go ahead and enjoy this one and stay tuned for more coming very, very soon. Now, moving on to the next mod, we have our first standalone weapon mod of this week, which is the Surplus Rifle, also known as the M16A2 by Pig and Millennia, and another Millennia, and others. That's right, another installment of the Another Millennia project. This is going to bring some of Millennia's weapons from Fallout New Vegas into Fallout 4, along with some new customization options thanks to various other authors. This time around, we have the M16A2, or as it is known in-game, the Surplus Rifle. Now, I know what you're thinking, this is just yet another M4 mod, but this one is actually a little bit different. First of all, it's not going to feature any sort of tactical attachments. It's only retro parts, which I think is pretty cool. On top of that, it is going to be only semi-auto or burst fire. There is no full auto version of this weapon, so theoretically you could install this and another M4 mod and they would actually function a little bit different from each other, which I think is pretty cool. There's various attachments over at the weapons workbench for this thing, including some nice service rifle parts and even a 10mm rechamber, which is pretty interesting since this doesn't have full auto capability. So having 10mm and only semi-auto or burst fire is a definitely unique sort of weapon. This thing does come complete with custom animations and custom sounds that fit absolutely perfect on this weapon, and it is added to the level list so you will find this on enemies. It'll start spawning all around the Commonwealth after level 8 on Brotherhood of Steel members, gunners, and raider bosses, and you can start purchasing it from shops immediately. It starts spawning after level 0. At this point, there's a lot of AR mods to choose from on the Nexus, but this is definitely a wonderful contender, and it's one that could be installed with others and still be different enough to be its own weapon. So props to Pig, a wonderful port, and some really cool stuff going on with this mod. The next mod we're checking out is a brand new settlement mod known as the World's Highest Settlement, a skyscraper top by El-Ha, also known as Zorkaz. This is going to add a brand new settlement into the game on top of a very tall skyscraper. Not the tallest one in the game, but definitely the tallest settlement in the game. This is a very nice flat area that allows you to build very high up and allow you to look down over the rest of the Commonwealth. And surprisingly, the frame rate up here is pretty good, unless you decide to look down. But if you don't do that, it's pretty good. Not only is this a very unique area to have a settlement, it also provides some pretty interesting building challenges for those of you who do like to build settlements. While you do have access to the entire build menu here, this settlement does not have any dirt, so building a farm is going to be pretty difficult. You may need to add in some modded ways to grow crops using different types of planters, though a few are provided in this mod. Now, what's really fun about this settlement is you don't just get it right off the bat, you actually have to earn it. So first of all, you're going to need to find this thing. It's just to the east of Diamond City, and you'll find an elevator at the base of this skyscraper. Activate the elevator and you'll hit a load screen that will take you to the top, and you'll see that this place is already infested with gunners. You're going to have to kill all of the gunners here, and then the settlement is yours. You can take down some of the stuff they've already built, or you can leave it up, move it around, whatever you want to do, it's your settlement. But I do recommend leaving the crops until you know that you have a way to make your own food. Once that's done though, you can build whatever you want on this place. It's got a pretty big build radius, and you can build beyond the structure itself as long as you have some sort of a way to support the pieces, or of course you can use place anywhere. All of that is really up to you. That's the fun stuff with settlement building. I went ahead and made something small to show off some of the possibilities for this settlement, but beyond that it's pretty simple. You have a nice rooftop that you can build a settlement on, but it does offer some unique scenery unlike any of the vanilla settlements. And finally, that's going to take us to the last mod of the week, which is another weapon mod, and that is the AK-112 inspired rifle by Micalov. Now, this is not an exact recreation of the AK-112 from Fallout 1, but rather Micalov's own interpretation of what that weapon could have looked like in Fallout 4. This rifle has a very interesting design that is definitely different enough from the Nuka World AK to consider downloading. While it does use the same animation set, it has a completely different playstyle and does use a different ammo type. By default, this thing is chambered in 5mm, but it does have a rechamber option to 5.56. What's really interesting with this weapon is the very slow fire rate. By default, it is in semi-automatic, but even when you switch it to full auto, the fire rate is super slow, making you take some time between each shot. This weapon does come with a ton of customization over at the weapons workbench, including different stocks and aesthetics and even some color swaps. And on top of that, some brand new scope options, magazines, and an entirely new receiver system. Rather than changing out the receivers the normal way, instead you have the weapon's internal category. This is going to include all of your standard damage upgrades, but there is still a receiver section. From there, you can actually apply elemental effects to this weapon, including cryo damage, incendiary damage, radiation damage, and even plasma damage. Now, what's interesting about all of these effects is they're actually tied to unique modifications that you have to go out and find in the world. So rather than finding unique versions of the weapon, you're finding unique receivers that you can throw onto existing versions of the weapon, which I think is a really cool idea. Now, this weapon again does use the vanilla Nuka World AK animations. It does not have custom animations, and if you use the right-handed animations, there actually isn't a right-handed version of this mesh just yet. So if you do have that installed, you're going to get sort of a weird interaction with this gun, so hopefully we'll see a mirrored version of it come out sometime soon. Now, if you want to get your hands on this weapon, it's actually added to the level list anywhere that you could find a combat rifle. So anywhere a combat rifle might spawn, this AK-112 might spawn instead. Altogether, this is a wonderful new lore-friendly addition to the game, and it's using mostly vanilla assets, so it's a very small download size. Coming in at only 3.4 megabytes, you do get a whole lot of gun in a pretty small package. As always, this is some wonderful work by Micalov, an awesome new addition to just about any load order. But with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. Lots of wonderful new mods this week. Again, all linked down in the description below. And don't forget to check out that donation link if you do want to help out Kinggath on his journey to help stop Alzheimer's. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to drop a rating. It really helps out the channel, and consider subscribing if you haven't already for more videos just like this. As always, a big shout out to all of my patrons for supporting every single video, and a very special thank you to Jeremy Briggs, Backbone, Danny, Freedom, Glasma, Damien, Indecisive Wolf, Logan, Rigmaiden, Lord Toast, Microhan, Moonlit Gamer, Oscar, Scott, Sterling, Timmy76, Youth RC, and Voider for joining that Tier 3 Patreon membership. If you'd like to support the channel over on Patreon, you can do so using the link down in the description, but it is completely optional. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Peace.